Here we are, Location Luxe. I'm your host, Alan Canas, and here in Season 1, we'll be focused on what we're calling the Great Lifestyle Migration. On each episode, I'll be right here in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. Over the last few decades, we've witnessed a great migration for employment and technology development. As such, the need and demand for homes has been among the highest in the country. These migration choices are giving people an extraordinary opportunity to explore new locations, amenities, and lifestyle options. And that's why we're here. Location Luxe. This week, I am so honored to welcome one of our Realm founders, Chris Richardson, who is also a top real estate agent in the Central Coast of California. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Alan. I'm thrilled to be here with you today.
Chris, you know how this works. I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to answer them, or maybe you're not going to answer them. And I'm going to do most of the talking because, you know, that's just how real estate agents are. Chris, before we get into that, the Central Coast of California is not just a destination location. It is a beautiful, gorgeous lifestyle. And Chris, we want to know a little bit about you and a little bit about your team and your company, because you have an amazing team. So tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks again, Alan, for having me. Thrilled to be here with you today. Yeah, fortunate enough to live here and work on the Central Coast. We've have a boutique real estate brokerage focused on the kind of luxury sector of our market. We've been growing it over 30 years, and it's been a great run. We love this area, the Central Coast, halfway between Los Angeles and San Francisco. And we're just fortunate every day to call this place home. Our real estate brokerage is made up of about 50 real estate professionals covering San Luis County, which extends from basically Nipomo, California to Paso Robles. I personally have a small team, and we focus on the coastal markets, Avila Beach, Pismo Beach, San Luis Obispo, the Edna Valley, and that's our footprint that we cover.
And it's a gorgeous footprint. Pretty damn lucky.
It's a special part of California.
There is a huge buzz with migration to the Central Coast. Tell us what the buzz is about with people buying a primary residence and a secondary residence home in the Central Coast.
Yeah, it's been really interesting, like many parts of California and around the nation. Obviously, people are moving around, and I think they're re-looking at where they live and how they live and what they need from their home. We've historically seen a lot of demand from Los Angeles Metro and San Francisco Bay Area, and that has really been fueled during the times that we're in with the lockdown and COVID-19. And we're seeing much more demand from those areas. I think people that are in those parts of California are now able to work remote, and their San Luis Obispo, which may have not been an option for them in the past, is now something that is attainable and works with their work needs and demands. So we're seeing increased demand from those areas. We also see demand from the Central Valley. We are starting to see more buyers from the Pacific Northwest. We have a direct flight now from our new regional airport that was built a couple years ago, the new terminal. And so we're starting to see more buyers from Seattle area.
Chris, what are the seasonal activities that people are seeing in your area?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got great beaches, Alan, and there's so many activities, obviously surrounded by that: surfing, kayaking, paddleboarding. There's just some amazing locations to have that experience. We have some incredible hiking. There's the Seven Sister Mountains, which you can see one of them behind me here. And the hiking and mountain biking is some of, I think, the best in the country and maybe even in the world. We also have, for the post-surf beach activity or hiking or mountain biking, the wine industry has gone crazy here. It has sort of I think, a bit of a Napa vibe. And so, maybe after the mountain bike or the hike, sitting at one of the beautiful wineries here in the Edna Valley, which is where we are today, is an amazing experience. to be had on the Central Coast.
Well, and you have some of the best spas. That's my best pastime. Tell us a little bit about what a buyer can expect when we are looking at homes in your area. What type of architectural designs can we expect?
So, Alan, we've seen, over the years, we had a lot of the Spanish, Mediterranean influence with, I think, just the roots of San Luis Obispo with the mission right in the downtown. We are starting to see more modern farmhouse, and that seems to really be resonating and appealing to buyers that are coming from the markets that we talked about, south and north and east of us. So buyers can expect to see a bit of a mixed bag in terms of the architectural styles. I think the market is maturing in that regard, and so we're starting to see more, like I said, more of the contemporary and more of the modern farmhouse options out there for buyers.
We're seeing the same here in the Bay Area Peninsula, Silicon Valley. So Chris, how easy is it to get in and out of the Central Coast?
It's become a lot easier to get in and out of the Central Coast, Alan. We had, fairly recently, we had a new terminal built probably 2 or 3 years ago. We went from I think it was 6,000 square foot terminal to now it's 40,000 square feet. And candidly, it was a little bit embarrassing to me when we would have people fly in for the first time into that old terminal. So the new terminal was a massive upgrade for our community. It was a much needed investment, and it's already paying significant dividends. The experience when people land in San Luis Obispo for the first time and come through that airport, I think it starts the whole experience of the Central Coast in a real positive way that we never had before. And then that opened us our market up to many more destinations. So we have Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Denver, Phoenix, Las Vegas, and Portland are on the horizon, and as well as Sacramento. So with those destinations, you have a lot of options. So if you're going to the East Coast or Midwest, you can fly through Denver is a decent option. We also added Dallas as another destination. So with those flights, that has really opened up the Central Coast in a way that we never had been before. And again, that experience when people get off the plane and walk into the airport, I think we're one of only 2 airports that has, once you go through security, you go into an outdoor area in between the security and the gate area. And so it's a really neat experience, and it's picturesque. You can start to get a feel for the Edna Valley, where many of our wineries are located. So we're thrilled to have that resource in our community. It's really opened up some doors for us.
Chris, what can a buyer expect to see in price points in properties that they, when they're coming out to the Central Coast?
So, Alan, it varies pretty dramatically because our county is fairly large, and there's such different locations. So, for instance, homes on the coast, so like Pismo Beach, Avila Beach, right on the water, we're seeing price points around the $1,000 a foot range. But then, if you go inland, that could drop down to $350 or $400 a square foot.
Wow.
So our price point, depending on where you're at, I mean, a kind of average home would be, $500,000 or $600,000 could in one location, but that same type of home could be $1 million in another location, primarily depending on the proximity to the ocean and then the size of the parcel and where it is in the county. So we've got a lot of different options here on the Central Coast. We've got different microclimates, which people often have to kind of, get up to speed on and learn, because there's very different climates within our county. So there's really different parts of the county and different price points.
Chris, can you tell me a little bit about the year-over-year appreciation? What are you seeing?
We've been seeing, I would say, for the last, 4 or 5 years, we probably see between 4 and 8% appreciation rate. So it's been pretty steady. Last year was a little bit higher. I think we were more like 7 to 12%, again, depending on where in the county. That's why there's a range on that year-over-year increase. So that's what we're seeing. Like many parts of California and in the nation, we have really limited supply right now and higher demand at all price points than we've seen in my 20 years in the business here on the Central Coast.
When a buyer is going to look at a property or viewing properties, what type of condition can they expect? Are they updated? Are they in original condition? What are they expecting?
Sort of like the conversation we had about the architecture, I think I would say that it's a mix. A lot of the housing stock that we're seeing come up on the market can be older, and that could be an 80s vintage or a 90s or an early 2000s. So it's a really varied. Some people have updated the homes, and so a buyer could expect to see a fully updated home, but there also could be that early 90s or right around 2000 vintage that is due for an update. So that needs to be factored in when they're looking at property and the price point and what they want to do to it to potentially bring it current if it's one of those homes that hasn't been updated at this point.
Chris, can you tell us a little bit about the culture, restaurants, art scene, and about the schools that are in the area?
The school districts are fantastic here, highly rated. There are some private schools, but most people are comfortable with their kids attending the public schools because they're such good schools. So I think that's a huge selling point for our community, is the quality of the schools. Like many places, that really can drive the market. As far as the restaurant scene, it has really been evolving and kind of being enhanced. The wine industry and the food scene, obviously those two pair well together, and they play off of each other. So there's plenty of great restaurants to have an amazing dining experience here on the Central Coast, whether you want something on the coast with that kind of vibe, or downtown, or maybe a little bit more in the wine region. There are a lot of options and a lot of great restaurants.
So Chris, I ask this of everybody that comes onto the show, and so you are no exception, and this is one of the questions you don't have to answer, but do you have a favorite client story?
I have a lot of them. Have amazing clients like you, Alan, and all of us that have been in the business for a while. We recently sold another home in Avila Beach to a young couple. The wife had gone to Cal Poly. The husband had started a company and recently had sold it, and they were able to move their family back here. They bought a beautiful kind of Mission Spanish style home, and they actually updated it significantly and just made it spectacular. And it was just amazing to see them, having gone to school here, had a love for the Central Coast, had never been able to envision being able to move back, and then the circumstances led to what they did, and they were able to buy here. And I bump into them all the time, and they're just so happy, and they're getting involved in the community. So those are the kind of stories that just kind of give you a little bit of goosebumps, and seeing people be able to make that kind of a move that has such a positive impact on their family is really, I think that's one of the main reasons why we get up and do what we do,
yes.
Because those are just amazing experiences.
Definitely. Nice, beautiful. So tell us a little bit about why you are living there. What keeps you there?
Essentially the quality of life. It's just a special part of California. I've had the opportunity to live in many places: Southern California, Santa Barbara, San Francisco. They're all amazing places and parts of California. But for me, this just feels like home. The people are really amazing. Obviously, the weather is incredible. I love the energy of the college town. Our downtown has really evolved and been growing in a really thoughtful manner. The quality of life here is just over the top. And again, it's just a special part of California. It's the right size. It's not too small. It's not too big. If you want to get to LA, you can get to LA pretty easily. If you want to get to San Francisco, you can get to San Francisco pretty easily. And now with the airport, that's opened up access to flying and visiting other parts of the country. So for all those reasons, I love the Central Coast.
Sounds perfect. Perfect. Chris, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Location Luxe.
Thank you, Alan. It's been a pleasure to be here with you today, and I really appreciate the opportunity and to share a little bit about the Central Coast. It's an amazing part of California, as I've mentioned.
It has been amazing. Thank you.